Yo, what up, y'all? It's your boy Rob coming back at you once again with another live stream. So before we get started, you already know what to do. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit the bell icon twice. Smash the like button, share this video out to all of your followers, and let's get it cracking, all right? So shout out to everybody who's in the building early. It is good to see each and every one of you. If you guys can hear me okay and everything looks good on the screen, please give me a thumbs up or a radiation emoji in the chat. If you guys cannot hear me and things are looking kind of weird, please give me a thumbs down or an angry face, all right? This is a impromptu stream, a surprise stream that I didn't know that I was going to end up doing. I came across some information that I saw I thought would be relevant to the channel, so I wanted to put it up, all right? So what we're going to talk about is we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the $1 billion budget gap that Chicago is facing. Now, here goes my question. How many people have heard about this situation with this $1 billion budget gap? If you guys have heard about this, give me a thumbs up. If you guys haven't, give me a thumbs down. My question for everybody watching is, what are the contributing factors to this $1 billion budget gap? This is huge, all right? So we're going to take a look at this here. This article right here from the Daily Caller, all right? And it says Democratic Mayor Brandon Johnson exempted the Chicago Police Department from a proposed citywide hiring freeze following a wave of backlash, the Chicago Tribune reported on Wednesday, all right? So now, as far as that goes, is anybody surprised? Remember what we said about defunding, refunding the police, cutting the budget, funding the budget? Democrats will always say that they're going to defund the police, but it's not compatible with their ideas. Building up and funding the police is what is compatible with their ideas. And as you guys can see here, amidst a budget cut, Brandon Johnson made the decision to exempt police from the budget. Because here's the thing. Let me ask you guys this question. If the police had been allowed to be affected by the budget, that would have actually been defunding the police, correct? Because that would have been taking away funds from the police. However, he even protected the police from a system-wide budget cut. If the budget needed to be slashed and police budget was slashed with that slash, that would have been a technological defunding of the police, correct? He didn't allow that to happen. He jumped out the window to make sure that the police budget did not get touched in lieu of the $1 billion budget gap. So do you all see how they will crash out to make sure that they protect the police? If you guys see how they'll do that, give me a thumbs up. If you guys don't, then give me a thumbs down. Shout out to Jesse. What's good with it, bro? And shout out to everybody that's watching. I appreciate you guys. If you guys haven't smashed the like button yet, please do me a favor. Take a moment, smash that like button. Also, if you guys haven't hit the bell, take a moment, hit that bell. The Johnson administration announced a citywide hiring freeze for government positions on Monday, prompting questions from the media and city council members if the CPD was exempted, which were not answered at the time, according to the Tribune. So again, my question for you guys is, knowing the Johnson administration, why were those questions not answered at that time? And this goes into the whole thing of what I was telling you guys about. You can't trust any of these politicians. Same way you can't trust any social media content creators. Lakeisha Gage Woodard, Johnson's budget team spokesperson, told the outlet that CPD and the fire department were not included in the initial decision to freeze city hiring. Now, how many people believe that? Do you all believe? If you guys believe that, give me a thumbs up. If you don't believe that, give me a thumbs down. Some city councilmen said they received no clarification from the administration about whether the freeze would include CPD, according to the Tribune. Chicago Budget Director Annette Guzman sent a memo after the original announcement to commissioners and department heads that the hiring freeze would affect all city government departments and positions. So now, if it says that it's going to affect all city government departments and positions, that would include the police, right? Because the police are part of the government, but they went back and they changed it after the backlash. Okay? They went back and changed it after the backlash. I didn't know whether the hiring freeze applied to our first responders, our police department and fire department. Chicago Alderman Chris Talaferro, Johnson's police, fire, and chief chair, told the Tribune. I did tell the Johnson administration I think it would be a bad decision for us to not exempt our fire and police because we are constantly losing police officers and we can't keep up with attrition. The freeze was meant to make up a $982.4 million shortfall in the city budget projected for the fiscal year of 2025. The cause for this shortfall is, quote unquote, rising personnel, pension, and contractual costs alongside ongoing revenue challenges, Guzman said on Monday, according to ABC7. Now, let me ask you guys this question. Is he being honest? Are there slightly other things that could be affecting the budget there? If there are slightly more things that could be affecting Chicago's budget, let me know in the comment section what those things might be. Okay. So now here it says, initially, we were told it is an across-the-board hiring freeze. Public Safety Committee Chair Brian Hopkins told the Chicago Sun-Times. They rushed the announcement on a Monday morning without fully vetting it, not realizing it was something they would have to walk back. There was pushback from the aldermen, and we're going to look at aldermen who were pushing back. They went back and realized there were positions they really needed to exempt from the hiring freeze. Now, let me ask you guys this question. We talk about Chicago a lot. So what aldermen do you all think had pushback? You know, more than likely, Ray Lopez and Anthony Beal probably were two of the people that didn't agree with what Johnson had going. Because historically, them two don't agree with Johnson, despite the fact that they're all Democrats. Those two don't agree. Johnson has changed his views on the police over the years. So again, we have another flip-flopper saying during his 2023 mayoral campaign that he didn't want to defund the police and instead push for smart police. Johnson seemingly reversed his position from 2020 following the George Floyd riots when he said that it was his political goal to defund the police. Shout out to the Orange Man. Sound familiar? Shout out to Mr. J. Illegals blew the budget out. If you guys agree with Mr. J, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. What about Brandon Johnson, though? Shout out to Trump. Sound familiar? The mayor's office did not immediately respond to the Daily Caller News Foundation's request for comment. All right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take a look here at this article from the Chicago Sun-Times. And this is very interesting. This is very interesting, right? Why is this very interesting? It's very interesting because we just read an article that said that they shouldn't defund the police, right? But let me show you what they do want to defund. Let me show you what they do want to defund. And shout out to everybody that's watching. I appreciate you guys. If you all haven't smashed the like button, please do me a favor. Take a moment, smash the like button. Also, if you guys haven't hit the bell, please take a moment, hit that bell. And also, please share this stream to your social media. If you're not subscribed to the channel and you watch the channel and you like the content, take a moment, hit that bell icon. We only need 2 more subscriptions to get to 500. So that would be nice if we could get that done by the end of this stream. Chicago should streamline police oversight. That's what they want to streamline. What do you guys think about that? Let me ask you guys this question. Where do most police violent incidents against unarmed black people happen at? Where do they happen at? Do they? Here's a question that's going to make more people leave the chat. You guys ready? Get your hands on that red X. Do police deletions of black people happen at a high rate in conservative cities? If they do, give me a thumbs up. If they don't, give me a thumbs down. Not saying anything is the same as the thumbs down, just so y'all know. I tally those mentally. Where do the majority of police shootings or instances of unnecessary violence occur? Shout out to Patrick. Democratic cities. If you guys agree with Patrick, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. Now, let me ask you guys this question. Do you think that that could be because of a reason like this? Democratic cities spend so much money on all kind of other things. They get rid of things that are in place to keep the checks and balances. And next thing you know, you have rogue cops acting like cowboys. Shout out to Carlton. Wait, Carlton said DJ Blacklight on the 1s and 2s in the off-code hour. We got Code Red shots at the bar for 99 cents, ladies and gentlemen. You know what I'm saying? Code Red shots at the bar for 99 cents. You know what I'm saying? Top shelf at $1. You know what I'm saying? Oh, man. So Chicago should streamline police oversight. So I want to make sure that you guys understand what's going on here. What's going on here is that in the midst of this budget cut, as a result of the migrants, mind you, which is already taken away from the resources of the people that's already there, they want to take away from the police oversight, which is going to keep the police somewhat, hopefully not doing too much damage to the community, and pour more money into the police. That don't sound like defund the police at all, do it? Look, I hurt somebody's feelings. Throw some tears in the chat. Throw somebody's tears in the chat. Somebody's butt hurt. You know what I'm saying? Good. So now here it says the recent firing, and let me just get this article together real quick. I didn't know I had to do this. Hold on. Just let me see. Hold on. You know what? Actually, shout out to Carlton. We gotta make an emoji, a membership emoji for a truth allergy. What you think? If you guys are down for a truth allergy emoji, give me a thumbs up. If you're not, then give me a thumbs down. All right, so now here it says the recent firing of 2 police oversight officials and subsequent calls for Andrea Kirsten, chief administrator of the Chicago Office of Police Accountability, to resign, add another unfortunate chapter in the drama that is Chicago policing. All right. More importantly, they are symptoms of an obvious failure in Chicago governance. The failure is this: our policing is political, not professional. Professional policing involves constitutional practice and effective community policing. Political policing, on the other hand, is a game of gotcha, conflict, and lack of constructive cooperation. Now, let me ask you guys a question. So when people say defund the police, is that political? Is that political? And yeah, that's a fact. Now check this out. Here's an even better question. Here's an even better question, Mr. J. Isn't ICE law enforcement? Aren't ICE similar to the police? They're part of the executive branch. They execute the laws, and they're law enforcement. So why would a city that wants to fund the police not fund those police and make it easy for them to facilitate cooperation with ICE? Just more questions that we got to ask since other people aren't asking them, right? The chaos surrounding the investigation into the Dexter Reed shooting is a striking example of the latter. Now, here's my question. How many people know about this Dexter Reed shooting situation? If you know about the Dexter Reed shooting situation, give me a thumbs up. If you don't know about the Dexter Reed shooting, give me a thumbs down. As COPPA was investigating the incident, Kirsten went public early on with questions about some of the circumstances. Now, another oversight body, the Community Commission on Public Safety and Accountability, has requested that the city's inspector general investigate COPPA. Meanwhile, law professor and former COPPA chief Sharon Furley has filed a series of Freedom of Information requests seeking documents related to the quality and integrity of COPPA's investigations. So there's corruption all throughout this particular situation here. There's corruption in what's supposed to be the oversight board. How is that supposed to work is my question. How is that supposed to work? There are clearly too many parties overseeing police with too few results. Now, let me ask you guys this question. How come they haven't run any type of quality control on this? They do a better job running quality control on black voters, keeping them at 80%, 90% of Democratic vote than they do at keeping the police at 100% or 90% integrity. If you guys would agree, give me a thumbs up. If you guys would disagree, give me a thumbs down. Oops, I just hurt somebody else. First, there is the Chicago Police Board with a budget of $602,000. Second, there is COPPA with $16.8 million and 157 employees. That's interesting. That actually divides out to be a pretty decent paycheck across those 157 people. Third, there is the Community Commission on Public Safety and Accountability, $4 million with 66 elected officials. So 4 million spread over 66 people. I wouldn't mind sharing a $4 million lottery ticket with 66 people. Be a nice little, you know what I'm saying, little piece of change, right? That'd be a nice little piece of change. Further complicating things, Alderman Carlos Ramirez Rosa, 35th Ward, in May introduced an ordinance that would place a referendum on the ballot to expand the size and scope of the Community Commission on Public Safety and Accountability while leaving the rest of the entities untouched. Now, here's my question. Why did people vote for politicians that support this? Now, let me ask you guys a question. Would you all say that there's been a political strategy of leaving politics to chance for the last 60 years? If you guys would say that there is, give me a thumbs up. If you guys would say that there isn't, give me a thumbs down. I'm going to give people an advice. Only play games of chance when you go to the gas station and get some lottery tickets, or if you go to a casino. Things like playing politics by chance and Russian roulette are not things that I would recommend. But there's a lot of things that recommend that people not listen to a word that I say. So I really, really hope, you know what I'm saying, that whatever things that people, what kind of ideas that they have to improve situations going forward, I really, really hope they work. I would really hate to see them end up as a piece of critique, you know what I'm saying, on undocumented. You know what I'm saying? That's the last thing anybody wants. Isn't that the last thing that anybody wants? Nobody wants to see something that somebody that they liked suggested being picked apart like a roadkill carcass by a vulture on undocumented. Does anybody want to see that? If you guys want to see that, give me a thumbs up. If you don't want to see that, give me a thumbs down. We might be seeing that kind of stuff soon. You know what I'm saying? We might be seeing that kind of stuff soon. You know what I'm saying? So now here it says, in addition to these three bodies, the mayor, city council, and office of inspector general all play significant roles in policing as well. Okay, so now we're talking about the mayor, your boy Brandon Johnson. This, you know, let me ask you guys this question. I also want to ask this question. Do you all feel that Brandon Johnson has been getting the same amount of scrutiny as Lori Lightfoot? If you all feel that he has, give me a thumbs up. If you feel that he has not, then give me a thumbs down. I feel like Brandon Johnson has unfairly been given a pass. And the reason why Brandon Johnson has been unfairly given a pass is because the people who were so hyper-focused on Lori Lightfoot didn't give direction as to what a better decision would be as to who to vote for. And people just thought, vote anybody other than Lightfoot, and they did, and this is what they got. So in order to keep the scrutiny away from such bad direction, they want to keep down the conversations about what goes on in Chicago, if you ask me. If you ask me, that's the situation that's going on. Shout out to Michael R. What's good with it, bro? Shout out to Jesse. What's good with you? But if you guys think that something else is going on, then let me know. Everybody was talking about Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. Now you got to actually say Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice to make her pop out. And when she does, it's in Dalton, dealing with another bunk politician that the people there voted in, and now they outraged about. Do you guys notice a pattern of people voting in politicians and then they're outraged about that? How does that happen across so many random places all at the same time with the same people? How does that happen? That's like if you take all day to pick out something at the store, you buy the product that you choose, and then you just decide to call customer service about it all day and complain because it's some other type of product when you purposely bought that product. Well, I don't understand that. How do you classify that behavior? Give me some suggestions on something permissible for me to say so I can classify that kind of behavior when discussing it. Okay. So now here it says, in addition to the three bodies, the mayor, city council, and office of inspector general all play significant roles in policing as well. This extremely complicated arrangement is built to fail. When it does, will the city streamline or add yet a fourth oversight body? In Los Angeles, a model to emulate. Okay, so now we, you know what I'm saying, doing the whole West Coast thing. Doing the whole West Coast thing. Okay. Chicago's oversight bodies are mirrored in politics, and officials must look elsewhere for professional solutions. For starters, they have much to learn from the Los Angeles Police Commission. Now, let me ask you guys this question. How many of you all know about the Los Angeles Police Commission? Shout out to Patrick Tyler. If you guys agree with Patrick Tyler, give me a thumbs up. If y'all disagree with Patrick Tyler, give me a thumbs down. Carlton, should we push the button for Patrick? If we should push the button for Patrick, push the button in the chat. Patrick said, I fear Black's going to do it again with Harris. Well, guess what? You're in luck, Patrick. We got a brand new Black voter monolith stream, more than likely coming up later on today. And we'll talk about that. We'll look at historical patterns. It's almost, Carlton, we can almost say, for the most part with Patrick, right, talking about behavior, right, it's almost safe to say that anytime Patrick puts a comment in, we can just go ahead and we just go ahead and hit the button. Just like how you all know, as soon as I go live, you may as well hit the button twice. Right? Oh man, that's hilarious. I gotta agree with you, Patrick. I agree. If you guys agree with Patrick, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. I agree with you, bro. So now here it says the only oversight body in Los Angeles is the Board of Police Commissioners. There are 5 unpaid commissioners on the board. Reporting to the board is the executive director, a small staff, and the Office of Police Inspector General. In 2017, the Inspector General's office had a staff of 49 and a budget of $8.5 million for a city that is about 50% larger than Chicago. Okay. In the 1990s, the Los Angeles Police Department was the nation's worst. There was the beating of Rodney King and the acquittal of the offending officers, riots, and the rampant police corruption scandal that involved nearly 200 cops. Okay. In the midst of all this, the Los Angeles City Council appointed the Christopher Commission to study police failures. Along with its recommendations came a consent decree. Okay. Those measures alone were not enough to create an effective organization. It was the work of city charter commissions in 1995 and 1999 that put the Inspector General under the authority of Police Commission and made sure it reported directly to the board. These voter-approved charter changes gave the Inspector General significantly enhanced power. Okay? One example is worth noting. The Inspector General's office has 3 divisions: complaints, audits, and use of force section. When there is an incident involving use of police force, even if there is no death or injury, a member of the Inspector General's use of force section, along with the department's force investigation division, arrives on the scene while officers are present. The Inspector General's staff observe the work of the department investigators to make sure that their work meets professional standards. What do the results look like? In 2023, Los Angeles experienced 323 homicides, or 8.4 per 100,000 residents. Chicago had 617 and 22.5 respectively. So now let me ask you guys this question. When it comes to the policing, which one looks like it's more effective, Chicago or LA? Chicago or LA? Let me know what you guys think. With every deletion, Chicago officials react somberly and predictably. But with the stark contrast in organization and results between Chicago and Los Angeles, any reasonable citizen would be justified in asking if our leaders are serious about professional policing or if they prefer to keep it political. So I'm going to ask you guys this question. Based on our observation of how these people are doing things, do these people care about professional policing, or are they just trying to keep it political? Let me know which one. All right. And shout out to everybody that's watching. I appreciate you guys. We got 14 people watching. If you guys could all take a moment, smash that like button. If you guys can also take a moment, hit that bell, and also please share the stream to your social media. I greatly appreciate it. This Frankenstein monster of police oversight was built wholly by Chicago City Council, and they will ultimately decide whether to ratify Kirsten's removal from COPA. In any case, they should all get on a plane to Los Angeles and see how oversight is conducted there. They will know what to do about their creation. Okay? So do you all see all of the waste of money? So when it comes to Chicago, right, we know that the migrant crisis is causing a lot of this budget issue, right? The migrant crisis is causing a lot of this budget issue, but also poor practices are causing issues as well. Poor policing is causing practices as well. Small packets of people getting large amounts of money is causing issues as well. Look at all of this money that Chicago has to pay out for victims of police misconduct. If they had police in Chicago that knew how to play straight and fly right, they might not be having to pay out all this money. Would you guys agree? If you guys agree, give me a thumbs up. If y'all disagree, give me a thumbs down. Shout out to Miss Nisi. What's good with it, Miss Nisi? So now here it says Chicago primed to pay out $15 million to more victims of police misconduct. This article came out September 12th of 2024. All these victims of police misconduct. What are they doing up there? Now, let me ask you guys this question. Again, if it's highly likely that they have caused this much of a bill for police misconduct, then I can say that they probably had a bunch of officer civilian incidents, right? Would you all say that the likelihood of having an officer civilian incident is higher in a Democratic city or in a conservative city? Which one? Let me know in the comment section. Why do we ask these questions? Data collection. This is what I'm talking about. How do you collect data? Through surveys. Anytime people see the surveys and the information that's presented by Brookings or Pew or Gallup, and they don't like what it says, they don't believe that. I want to know where people got the statistics. Everybody always says they want to know where they got the statistics at, but nobody wants to actually ever get the statistics. People don't want to know where they get the statistics from. They just want the statistics to say something else. Instead of that number saying 85%, you want that number to say 49%. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what that means. They don't actually want to get the data. They don't actually not believe it. They just want it to say something different. It's just like how when you look at your checkbook, you know what I'm saying? Like you want it to say $1 million. You don't want it to say 100. That's what it is. You know what I'm saying? And like people should be honest about that. See, because I actually want the data, which is why I ask 1 million questions. So understand, you know what I'm saying, that when you have somebody like me that's constantly asking questions, I actually want data. When there's people that are constantly not answering or asking questions, they're not interested in data. They're only interested in saying, I don't like what this report says. That's what it is. So we got to make sure that we are clear on that. Okay? We got to make sure that we're clear on that. We got to make sure that it's BS when somebody says, I don't believe this data. Unless you're trying to collect your own data, what it is that you just don't want that data to say what it is, which means that you actually do believe the data, you just don't like it. See, that's what that means. So now you're lying. I don't believe that. You do believe it and you don't like it. That's why you want it to be different. You know what I'm saying? So there's as long as we got that straightened out, you know what I'm saying? So now here it says Chicago is primed to pay out $15 million to more victims of police misconduct. City Council's Finance Committee will vote Monday on whether to approve the payouts stemming from 5 lawsuits, 5 of them, filed in state and federal courts since 2019, including cases linked to John Burge and Ronald Watts. Okay. So now here it says Chicago, look at this. Chicago taxpayers are on the hook for another $15 million. And nobody when there's these issues with the police, nobody pays for it except for the taxpayers. Just like ain't nobody paying for the migrants except for the taxpayers. Let me ask you guys this question. If the police would not get in trouble as much, would it save taxpayer dollars? If it would, give me a thumbs up. If it wouldn't, give me a thumbs down. See, more data collection. Let's see if I get any data. To settle police misconduct lawsuits, including cases linked to two of the department's most notorious members, John Burge and Ronald Watts. City Council Finance Committee will vote Monday on these payouts, stemming from 5 lawsuits in state and federal court since 2019. The biggest settlement, $11.6 million, would go to Anthony Jakes, who falsely confessed to being an accomplice in a 1991 murder when he was just 15 after being beaten by members of CMDR Burge's infamous Midnight Crew. How many people heard about that? How many people heard about that? Clearly, some people don't care. People left. Butthurt, more butthurt, folks. Shout out to Patrick. Patrick Tyler says probably all black. Nobody will know because nobody cares. See, look at everybody leaving. You know what I'm saying? Don't nobody care about this stuff. You know what I'm saying? Don't nobody care. Everybody wants to have the ability to attach to the outrage about it, but nobody actually cares. And this is what I'm trying to prove to you all. There's a difference between actually caring and outrage attachment. You know what I'm saying? I stayed on the Elijah McClain situation from start to finish. Other people can't say the same. But, you know what I'm saying? People make their choices. I'm just saying. You know what I'm saying? So now here it says Jake spent 20 years in prison before being released in 2012. And now again, so when people would sit there, shout out to David Brown, what's good with it, bro? People would sit there and be like, yo, what do the budget got to do with us? What do the budget got to do with black people? I would say the budget had something to do with this guy right here. For one, the budget is being spent allegedly on getting ineffective cops out of there, and clearly they have a process that's not working getting ineffective cops out of there. So now the people who are paying the tax dollars are funding these ineffective cops. They're funding a failing process, and on top of failing the funding process, they got to pay the $15 million for the settlement. I would say that has something to do with a lot of us, because a lot of people in Chicago, the same people that's paying for the migrant crisis, going to be paying for this. But again, the only problem is that I think starkly different from a lot of people. And you know that monolith got it like David and Goliath out here. But at the end of the day, it was a long, hard battle, but David won. You know what I'm saying? So now here it says, Michael Liggins, wrongly arrested and charged with murder in 2014, would get $2.5 million. He spent years in Cook County Jail before being acquitted at trial. Another case settled for $5. Now, shout out to, I think it was Patrick. People asking in the comment section if these people are black or not. If y'all want to look them up and let us know in the comment section, I'll post it up on the screen which of these people was black. I know some of them might be Latino. Bro, Elijah McClain's story infuriates me. You know what I'm saying? Don't even get me started. That story infuriates me to the grain, and people online have the nerve to, if you have a slightly different opinion in them, call you a COON. You know what I'm saying? Yet at the same time as they doing that, they catching the algorithm, you know what I'm saying, and not catching any information about any Elijah McClain updates. That's why I can't with none of these people, man. You know what I'm saying? I can't. So now here it says, and on top of it, I ain't trying to be funny, but I got enough YouTube channels to be my own team. So, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I got a whole little artificial intelligence army, so I'm good anyway. I've outsourced, you know what I'm saying? So now here it says Michael Liggins, wrongfully arrested and charged with murder in 2014, would get $2.5 million. He would spend years in Cook County Jail before being acquitted at trial. Another case settled for $500,000 targets Sergeant Watts and his corrupt team of tactical officers who arrested Alvin Wadey in 2007 at the Ida B. Wells housing project on bogus charges for drugs. after pleading guilty and being incarcerated, Wadey was granted a certificate of innocence in 2019. Okay. Shout out to Carlton. Carlton said you got more channels in the Marvel universe. We in the off-code universe. How many people have heard about any of these cases? Nobody's heard about any of these cases? And shout out to everybody that's watching. I appreciate you guys. If you guys haven't smashed the like button yet, please do me a favor. Take a moment, smash that like button. Also, if you guys haven't hit the bell, please take a moment, hit that bell. And also, please share the stream to your social media. Now, people will watch this stream and say, this is undocumented. This channel's supposed to be about the migrant crisis. This channel's supposed to be about the migrant crisis. If you don't think that the migrant crisis is connected to this particular situation with Brandon Johnson's budget and favorite healthcare owing doggone near the same amount of money as the budget is, this might not be the place for you. You know what I'm saying? Might not be the place for you. Shout out to Patrick. Patrick says, sounds like black names. Can we get some confirmation? Can we get some confirmation? Because we just recently had a situation where people said a Haitian woman was biting cat heads off. Come to find out. You know what I'm saying? Come to find out. Sounded like ears deceiving. You know what I'm saying? It could be some low notes and it can be some high notes and it can be a dog whistle. Now, that dog whistle might have happened, but people might not have heard it, though. You know what I'm saying? That's why you got to get confirmation. That's why you got to do the sonogram. That's why you got to do the x-ray. The people that do diagnostic tests will make better assessments. That's one of the reasons why the insurance company won't pay for all those complicated diagnostic tests. The doctor will tell you they want a PET, they want a computerized topography, they want a CAT scan. They're not going to let you get all that. You can only get an x-ray, and then if they find something on the x-ray, then you can get something else, or if something else warrants it. Because all of those tests are expensive, but all of those tests will get down to the final assessment of the situation. You know what I'm saying? We got an officer that is in Florida his name is Grady Judd. On first thought, a lot of people would think that that's a black person. So now here go my question. If we believe what we say we believe, right? If we believe what we say we believe, when you hear a name like Willie Brown or William Brown, how do you know if that's a white person or a black person? If you ask me, there's 50-50 equal chance that it could be either one. If we believe what we say we believe, and our names came from where we say they came from. So, you know, if somebody's name is, you know, like what was the dude's name right here? What's this dude's name? So if this dude's name is Alvin Wadey, I mean, you know, I don't know about anybody who would not, who you know, it's a high likelihood if you look at the racial demographics of the Ida B. Wells housing projects, why that person might be what race that they are, but you wouldn't be able to tell based on the name. I don't really know too many white people except for a police officer, or undercover police officer, or a drug dealer, a mafia person or something like that, who would be in the Ida B. Wells housing projects, or somebody that works at the front desk or something like that. Or it could be a ratchet. Could be a ratchet. You know what I'm saying? But if you look at actual percentages of racial demographics, that will lead you to be able to make a prediction. And I want to tell you guys something. With the way that I be trying to narrow this stuff down, we're looking at these numbers. This is why certain people have that quality control on the vote. They got quality control. I'm gonna make a membership thing. I'm gonna make a membership emoji that says quality control on you ninjas, and then put 87% on it. It's gonna have 87% on it. It's gonna be in the membership thing when we get more members. Shout out to Carlton. Carlton said, to be fair, white people don't have the new black names, though. Facts. But here's the thing, though. The old black names, the number of old black names haven't decreased. The new black names just came out. So you still got them people that got a name like mine or a name like yours. And, you know what I'm saying? It could be some white person that got that name. Joe Smith, you know. Joe Smith, CEO of some company, and Joe Smith, they used to play for Maryland University. You know what I'm saying? But here go the thing, though. People will admit these things and pride themselves on these things, right? When it's time to be all, like, hoorah, hoorah. And then when it's time to actually use this for assessment information, oh, well, we're not going to talk about that. When information integrity crumbles, everything crumbles. And again, like, to me, it don't matter. It don't matter how butthurt people get, man. It don't matter. It's not my problem. I don't care. The only reason why I do the content that I do and try to bring awareness to the stuff that I bring awareness to is because I think it would help people. Shout out to Brooklyn Queen. And I can't, hey, Brooklyn Queen, can you put that in the Discord? Brooklyn Queen got Alvin Wade's mugshot. So now here it says the purposed payouts add an avalanche of costly settlements tied to allegations of police abuse as the city struggles to close a $223 million budget gap and erase a nearly $1 billion budget shortfall in 2025. Finance Committee Chair Pat Dowell said there's no end in sight. Now, mind you, they got all of this going on, and they're probably still going to try to, and right, shout out to Miss Nisi, and exactly, they never used the nickname Nisi, right? But Denise is real common, and that's why I said most people got a female cousin named Nisi. At least I do. You know what I'm saying? So all of this contributed to this budget. So now let me ask you guys this question. Do you all think that they're going to cut the budget operations on the migrant crisis? How are they going to sustain? Now, we've seen all of the money going on, right? We've seen all of this money going out with the migrant crisis. This is money that's going out in other areas of the city, and yet they're not scaling anything back with the migrants. They might do 1 or 2 scale backs, as they see fit, right? But look at all this money going out. I don't know how we put a plug in it other than clear out the pipeline of bad causes and hope that we have a consent decree that regulates officer behavior. Dowell third ward, I think that is, referring to federal court order mandating sweeping police reforms. All right. So now, again, this coincides with that first article that we read because they're already talking about getting rid of the police oversight board. The police oversight board already don't work. There's a lot of remaining cases, all of the Watts cases, all of the Detective Ronaldo Guerrera cases she added. The one thing I'm pleased about is that Corporation Counsel has put in place a risk management division that they're carefully weighing these cases and settlement requests. And this is what I'm saying. Risk management, quality control on ninjas. They got quality control on ninjas. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Brooklyn Queen for throwing that that mug shot in the chat. Hold on real quick. We about to look at this mug shot real quick. Let's see. All right, check it out. Look at this. There you go. Shout out to Patrick. Make sure y'all throw some flames in the chat for Patrick. Facts. Democrat City. You know what I'm saying? So, name Alvin Wade, age 36, Chicago Police Department. Charges: driving on suspended license, operating uninsured motor vehicle, no turn signals, overtaking vehicle on right, certain condition, unlawful possession of cannabis, paraphernalia, $2,000 bond. Okay. It's crazy. Real-time fact check. Okay, cool. Shout out to Brooklyn Queen. You guys see, it's in the Reacts community tab in the Discord. All right. I'm gonna tag everybody so y'all can see it if y'all want to go back and check on it. All right. Appreciate it, Brooklyn Queen. Make sure y'all show Brooklyn Queen some love. All right. So we're gonna get back to this article real quick. Now, again, how many people see how all of this is related to the budget? And again, here goes my question, right? What are the steps on getting people in office to fix this type of situation? Because if they vote for Brandon Johnson second term, you know what I'm saying? Like, this isn't going to help anything. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Like voting for another Brandon Johnson or voting for another Lori Lightfoot, that's not going to help. I don't know why people keep doing it. So now here it says, meanwhile, new cases continue to pile up. Why are new cases piling up? I thought these people cared so much. There's people that say, oh, Rob, all you do is talk about Democrats. You're a coon. You must support Trump. But yet and still, let's put in more Democrats so that new cases can continue to pile up. Because those people are more in support of dead black people than they are of dealing with the situation. You got people over there chasing people around the internet because they support dead black people more than they support cleaning up the politicians. I don't support dead black people. I'm sorry. Excuse me. My apologies. Clearly, we differ in opinion. I support alive and thriving black people. I don't support dead black people. My bad. Meanwhile, new cases continue to pile up. Let me ask you guys a question. If new cases continue to pile up, what's the high likelihood of an injury or a death coming with those cases that pile up? So now here it says earlier this week, a federal jury awarded a historic $50 million in damages to Marcel Brown, who was wrongly convicted of a murder in 2008. Here's my question. How many people heard of Marcel Brown? If you know who Marcel Brown is, give me a thumbs up. If you guys don't know who he is, give me a thumbs down. Well, now you know he was unjustly convicted of a murder, and as a result, awarded $50 million in damages, which means that he probably spent a pretty significant portion of his life in prison. Yeah, let's take a look. And again, remember, this stuff ain't important. People are butthurt over their feelings, so they leaving because they know that they gonna just turn around and go and vote for Brandon Johnson, which is not my problem. I'm a coon for pointing something out like this. Jury awards $50 million to Chicago man who spent 10 years in prison after wrongful conviction. Shout out to all the black men in the comment section. Any of y'all looking forward to your $50 million that you earned from 10 years in jail? What an investment. What an investment. What should be done with people that voted for crap like this? And then try to justify it. They try to justify it. And try to shame other people out of talking about it. I'm not shame sensitive. There's nothing anyone can say or do that will ever stop me doing what I'm doing. The same way people bitch up and get out of the chat when they get butthurt, I don't care about none of that. I'll just find somebody new to listen. But the excuse of people didn't know about these things will never, ever exist again while I'm breathing. Shout out to Patrick. Patrick said Marcel is black. Just Google. But remember, I'm a coon for showing people this stuff. Right? Remember that. This is the shit that makes me a coon. That I get grouped in groups with other people that I don't even really associate with all like that don't even talk about the same type of content as me. Now, here go the question. How come people ain't, how come nobody's talking about that? That's that situation with that $50 million. That's not something that's real popular. That's not something that's real popular. This shit ain't real popular. You see people dropping like flies out this bitch? I'm proving my point. I'm proving my point. Jakes, the man in line for the largest settlement before the Finance Committee, alleged in a federal lawsuit that detectives working under Burge beat him and threatened him into confessing that he acted as a lookout during the murder of 16-year-old Jared Irving in 1991. Jake's confession was the lone piece of evidence that sent him to prison for 2 decades when he was just a teenager. Everybody that claimed that they care so much just bounced. Shout out to DJ. What's good with it, bro? Everybody that cared that they claim that they care so much, that they had to dip. You know what I'm saying? After Jakes was released in 2012, the Illinois Torture and Relief Commission found credible evidence that detectives Kenneth Bordeaux and Michael Kill, which is a hell of a name, tortured Jakes into confessing. A Cook County special prosecutor later dropped all charges after he spent 20 years in jail. After he spent 20 years in jail. And people voted in the judges, the mayors, the governors, all these people, they voted them in. The community is responsible for this. If you guys would agree that the community is responsible for this, give me a thumbs up. If you guys wouldn't, give me a thumbs down. And somehow the community always will try to slide, skirt, squirm, and slither away from accountability. The only person that had a gun to their head in this situation was this individual here. And he still ended up having to do 2 decades behind bars. Didn't nobody put a gun to anybody's decade, or didn't nobody put a gun to anybody's head to make them vote this doggone stupid? Who put a gun to somebody's head and made them vote stupid like this? What kind of gun was it? How big was it? What kind was it? How many bullets was in the chamber? Didn't nobody put no gun in nobody's head to make them vote stupid like this. They just did it. And they've been doing it. And there's no improvement or continuous learning improvement curve. There's no quality control. But I'll tell you what there is quality control on. They got the voting ratios at quality control. We're going to talk about that later on. I would say that the voting ratios at the level of quality control that they're at is indicative of an effective mind control program. How many people would say that? That most people walking around are under an effective mind control program. Shout out to Patrick. Patrick says, not so fast, Rob. Been noticing that blacks have been getting awarded large judgment. Then Democratic judge come behind and knock them down. And what? In which kind of judge does it? Democratic judge come behind and knock the judgment down. Hope he gets his 50 mil. Yeah, facts. Shout out to Dwayne. Exactly. See, and this is what people should be curious in numbers. Facts, bro. Let me get this straight. U.S. spent $300 million a day in Afghanistan, can do reparations, school debt, and healthcare. Yeah, all right. And I got even more. Listen, bro, I got an all money ain't good money stream that I ain't even had a chance to do yet. I got all the thumbnails and everything put together for it. I just ain't had a chance to do it yet. But wait till y'all see this. Wait till y'all see this. You know what I'm saying? And of course, it's stuff that most people don't talk about. But that might be at the same time, that might be why people don't watch it neither. You know what I'm saying? We'll see. So now here it says Burge was ultimately sentenced to 4.5 years in federal prison in 2011 for lying in a deposition about police torture and abuse. He wasn't directly implicated in Jake's case or named in the suit, which was filed months after Burge died. Liggins, the man primed to earn $2.5 million settlement, was arrested in the 2008 slaying of Berthel Tucker after he was falsely identified as one of the suspects in a botched robbery at a West Side grocery store. Liggins wasn't arrested until 2014, and the case fell apart at trial. By the time he was acquitted in 2019, he had spent more than 5 years in jail. How many people think that that's cool, man? Random black dudes that don't even have nothing to do with these crimes just being locked up in jail because some white people can't make up their mind on who they want to blame this on or not. They got Shot Spotter in Chicago. You know what I'm saying? And again, you got to ask the question, if this stuff is so important, why are there not more people talking about it? And also, hey, here's my thing. Don't just take what people give you and act like it's gold. Somebody will hand you a turd right from their ass and try to tell you that it's gold. Have demands for what you accept. I ain't touching that. Sometimes people can be overly appreciative. Don't overly appreciate. Appreciate appropriately. You know what I'm saying? Everything don't deserve a thank you. You know what I'm saying? So now here it says allegations in Wade's $500,000 lawsuit naming Watts and his team mirrors other complaints lodged against the corrupt crew, which has been accused of extorting money from drug dealers and falsely arresting those who wouldn't cooperate. As a result, prosecutors have tossed out hundreds of cases linked to the unit. So you got all this going on, and this is contributing to the budget shortfall. Now, again, what is Mayor Brandon Johnson doing about any of this? Shout out to Tarek. Tarek said we got 17 likes. We've been live for an hour and we got 17 likes. I'm gonna tell you, this is one of the reasons why this type of stuff goes unaddressed. For real, for real. Shout out to Cameron. What's good with it? It's low. This is low priority content. You guys should see the ridiculous recommended videos where my content is recommended from these videos. It has nothing to do with any of this stuff. I'm like, why are they sending people that watch this nonsense to these videos? You know what I'm saying? One of these days, I'm gonna go through my analytics with y'all on a stream so that y'all can see. And it's like, what? Why would they send these people to your content? You know what I'm saying? Like Burge, Watts, and underlying named in Wade's suit were sentenced to federal prison. Watts was handed a 22-month sentence in 2013 for stealing from a homeless man who who posed as a drug dealer as part of an FBI sting. They only gave him 22 months. His accomplice, Officer Khalat Muhammad, got 18 months. So far this year, judgments and lawsuits. Look at this. Look at this. So far this year, judgments and lawsuits targeting city agencies have totaled $73 million, according to records maintained by the law department. Now, let me ask you guys this. Do y'all think that that has anything to do with the budget? Y'all think that got anything to do with the budget? If y'all think that that has anything to do with the budget, give me a thumbs up. If y'all don't think that it has anything to do with the budget, then give me a thumbs down. Shout out to Karen. You know the idea, bro. Don't even you have to just accept the reality. You know what I'm saying? To question reality, to me, in my opinion, is a waste of time. The only thing that is optimization of time is to embrace reality. You know what I'm saying? That's the only thing that can be done. You know what I'm saying? So we about to take a look at this. Shout out to hold on real quick. My bad. My computer going kind of slow. Shout out to Cameron. Shout out to Black Spider. What's good with it, Black Spider? Hope you're having a good night. Got this article here. Let me get this off of here. There we go. Economics professor questions effectiveness of Chicago budget changes. Now, these budget changes, they don't even have a plan for these. I just want to make sure that you guys understand that. There's no actual plan for the budget. What's going on is they're changing things as it goes, all right? We're going to get back to that article. I just wanted to show you that headline. Now, how many people remember Alderman Anthony Beale? If you guys remember Alderman Anthony Beale, give me a thumbs up. If you guys don't remember Alderman Anthony Beale, give me a thumbs down. How many people remember Alderman Anthony Beale? Anthony Beale has had a couple moments that I wouldn't say they went viral, but they got pretty popular and they were viewed. And hold on real quick. They were viewed and they were talked about on social media. All right. He's a gentleman from Chicago. All right. Black American brother. And he didn't appreciate the migrant crisis situation. All right. Him and Ray Lopez. They was voting against a lot of Brandon Johnson stuff that he had going on. We're going to listen to what he has to say about the budget. And shout out to everybody that's watching. I really appreciate you guys. If you all haven't smashed that like button yet, we got 20 people watching and 21 likes. Let's try to get the likes to 40. I greatly appreciate it. Okay, hold on, my bad. Sorry about that. I thought I had everything set up. My bad. Okay, here we go.
Welcome back. The city of Chicago is facing a nearly that hole, like raising property taxes, a hiring freeze, and cuts to city services.
Now, mind you, right, he's already gone back on the cuts for city services, and he will be flip-flopping on his promise because he promised to not raise property taxes. But remember, when it comes to Kamala Harris, we've been told not to criticize her for her flip-flopping. What I've said is that people's past behavior is a predictor of their future behavior, and we have Brandon Johnson who flip-flopped on defunding the police, and here he goes with another a situation where he's about to flip-flop. So what I'm saying is that behavior is the best indicator, and it doesn't matter what other people say. Behavior is the only indicator that should be paid attention to. History and recurrence and pattern finding. If you guys would agree, give me a thumbs up. If you guys would disagree, give me a thumbs down.
Welcome back. The city of Chicago is facing a nearly $1 billion budget deficit for fiscal year 2025. And the mayor says everything is on the table to fill that hole, like raising property taxes, a hiring freeze, and cuts to city services. Ninth Ward Alderman Anthony Beale joins me now. Alderman, thanks for tuning in this morning, checking in with us.
Well, thanks for having me. Good morning.
Good morning to you. How did we get to this point?
Deficit that was coming, and we knew that coming out of the pandemic, things were still slow. Coming out of the pandemic, downtown is still recovering, and so we've been looking at all these different things going on that really caused this hole. But we didn't do anything to prepare for it. We spent all the COVID money creating programs and creating additional jobs, and now that COVID money is running out, that's adding more deficit to our revenue on a day-to-day basis. So we didn't do anything last year to raise property tax fees or fines or anything, and we just kind of punted last year, and that also added to this hole. And so it was a compound of really bad judgments that really got us here.
It sounds like you're almost blaming yourself for this. Was it you? Was it the mayor's office? Who's to blame?
Well, it wasn't me, because I voted against every budget the last 5 years. And so it was definitely the guidance of the administration that really pushes the agenda as far as our budgets are concerned. And so when you look at our budgets, it's the mayor's responsibilities to present us with budgets. And, I've been fighting tooth and nail about all these bad decisions that have been made. And it's just right now, it's not enough of us in the city council to, really right the wrongs that are going on. When you look at the fact that we spent $814,000 on a wrought iron fence pandemic, knowing that we have a deficit, why would you do something like that? Why would we spend over $600 million on migrants when we have a deficit?
Did you hear what he said? If you guys heard what he said, give me a thumbs up. If you guys didn't hear what he said, then give me a thumbs down. Now, here goes my question. If we got Alderman Anthony Beale sitting up here saying this, why is it that we have people sitting here saying that what we're saying is MAGA mis or disinformation when the alderman of the actual city is saying the same thing that I've been saying? And I'm not even from that city, but it just makes sense because this is a math. This is budget. Any accountant can do this. When are people going to stop tolerating nonsense is my question. Because as you guys can say, I don't tolerate nonsense. Like I don't tolerate it. You know what I'm saying? And I think that people should be more resistant to nonsense toleration. Like I said, I agree with Anthony Beale. Now, Anthony Beale is a Democrat. I haven't went in on Anthony Beale. Find me some content where I went in on Anthony Beale, and he's a Democrat that's on the ground in a city, local elections, local politics, where he's fighting the migrant crisis because the federal initiatives have trickled down local. But there's a simp issue, right? So somebody, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are telling one story, but Democrats like Anthony Johnson or Anthony Beale and Ray Lopez are telling a different story. So who's telling the true story? The same way I believe local news over national news, I'm more biased to believe local politicians over national politicians. And again, look at all the butthurt simps. Look at all the butthurt simps. They vote now. You guys see who is Anthony Beale directly laying the blame on for this budget? That's my question for you guys. Who manages the budget? Who is he laying the blame on? Because the news lady gonna ask him directly.
Welcome back. The city of Chicago is facing a nearly $1 billion budget deficit for fiscal year 2025.
I want you guys to pay attention. Look at how hurt people are in the face of watching their own idiocy on display on TV. Look at how powerless these people are. They're so weak they can't even say anything in the chat. They got to come in, see this, get mad because this is something that they contributed to and bounce their sorry asses out of here. That's exactly what they supposed to do is bounce out. If you don't have no purpose and you're dumb and you messing up stuff for everybody, that's exactly what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to bounce out. And the problem is that it ain't no bouncers bouncing anybody.
And the mayor says everything is on the table to fill that hole, like raising property taxes, a hiring freeze, and cuts to city services. Ninth Ward Alderman Anthony Beale joins me now. Alderman, thanks for tuning in this morning, checking in with us.
Well, thanks for having me. Good morning.
Good morning to you. How did we get to this point?
Well, we knew that this cliff was coming years ago. We knew we had a pension deficit that was coming. And we knew that, coming out of the pandemic, things were still slow. Coming out of the pandemic, downtown is still recovering. And so we've been looking at all these different things going on that really caused this hole, but we didn't do anything to prepare for it. We spent all the COVID money creating programs.
Now, look at this. Now check this out, right? They just had that DNC in Chicago. They didn't make any money from that. Pay attention to what Anthony Beale's saying. He literally sitting here giving the just unmitigated honesty. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I ain't never seen it come this honest. You know what I'm saying?
And so we've been looking at all these different things going on that really caused this hole, but we didn't do anything to prepare for it. We spent all the COVID money creating programs and creating additional jobs. And now that COVID money is running out, that's adding more deficit to our revenue on a day-to-day basis. So we didn't do anything last year to raise property tax fees or fines or anything, and we just kind of punted last year. And that also added to this hole. And so it was a compound of.
Now, let me ask you guys this. How come Dr. Rashad Ritchie and Roland Martin got Karen content all day for y'all and don't have no content about this, where there's an actual articulate, educated, involved, forward-thinking, intelligent alderman who can lay out the issues that are going on in Chicago to help people improve the situation in Chicago instead of telling somebody about what some Karen did at IHOP? Do y'all ever seen any videos of Roland Martin or any videos of Dr. Rashad Ritchie where they're highlighting anything that's going on in a Chicago City Council meeting anywhere at all ever? This is what I'm saying. Pay very close. Anybody that tries to appeal to your emotions, that should be a red flag. People only try to appeal to your emotions if they want to manipulate you. People try to appeal to their logic, to your logic, if they're trying to get you to understand something. I don't appeal to nobody's emotions because I don't have no emotions. I try to appeal to people's logic. And I get frustrated because allegedly, of the highest order of organism on the planet, we're supposed to be the ones with quote unquote logic. But it doesn't seem like that's the case. It seems like the inefficiency of human emotion has now conquered the human psyche as we move into the post-truth era.
Really bad judgments that really got us here.
It sounds like you're almost blaming yourself for this. Was it you? Was it the mayor's office? Who's to blame?
Well, it wasn't me because
Now, I want you guys to pay very close attention to when he says it wasn't him. Pay very close attention to this. This is and this is a question that I always ask. How did this happen? See, the white lady, she asking the same questions that I be asking. How did this happen? How did we get here? Brandon, now, do you see how when she asked those questions, Anthony Beale is giving clear-cut answers as to how we got there. This is how we got here. Inappropriate COVID spending. We created inappropriate programs. We didn't budget the money properly. He gave bullet-pointed outline points of things that were done or not done that can be tied specifically to a dollar amount in that $1 billion. He didn't just sit there and not say anything. That's how you know somebody who didn't contribute to a problem. You know what I'm saying? That's how you know. And then he's going to go on to say, well, I didn't contribute to it because these were the actions that I was taking during the time when these things were going on. When people don't say anything, that's how you know. That's how you know. You know what I'm saying?
Last year, and that also added to this whole. And so it was a compound of really bad judgments that really got us here.
It's to blame.
Well, it wasn't me because I voted against every budget the last 5 years. And so it was definitely the guidance of the administration that really pushes the agenda as far as our budgets are concerned. And so when you look at our budgets, it's the mayor's responsibilities to present us with budgets.
Now, the last 5 years, that means that he was voting against Lori Lightfoot for part of her time, too. I don't know what to say. How come didn't nobody support him in voting against these budgets? You see who's the direct now? He said now, right? Ultimately, right? I wouldn't even say ultimately it's Brandon Johnson's fault. I would say ultimately it's the people of Chicago's fault. Because as you guys heard right here, Anthony Beale said all of these things and the budgets get presented by the mayor. Who chose the mayor? Who chose the mayor of Chicago? Who had the choice to pick somebody that they wanted to pick as the mayor of Chicago? Who did that?
Really bad judgments that really got us here.
It sounds like you're almost blaming yourself for this. Was it you? Was it the mayor's office? Who's to blame?
Well, it wasn't me because I voted against every budget the last 5 years. And so it was definitely the guidance of the administration that really pushes the agenda as far as our budgets are concerned. And so when you look at our budgets, it's the mayor's responsibilities to present us with budgets.
So I want you guys to understand the scenario that we got going on here. Shout out to the specialist. What's good with it, bro? The scenario is if you don't support politicians who create insurmountable budgets for black cities, you're a coon. This is why I'm a coon. Throw some coons in the chat for me. Throw some coon chats and throw some coon emojis in the chats for me. This is what makes me a coon. I want to make sure we have a clear understanding of the 2024 definition of coon. And just so you guys know, hey, things change, right? Just like woke changed, you know, people took that and changed it. I guess things changed. Shout out to Notorious B.I.G. Rest in peace. Things done changed. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to the specialist. Things done changed. Go ahead, Brooklyn Queen. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. You gonna sound like you at a college party. Do it. Do it. Do it. Oh man, that's hilarious, man. Hey, hit the like button if y'all ain't hit the like button. If y'all enjoying the content, man, hopefully y'all are.
And, you know, I've been fighting tooth and nail about all these bad decisions that have been made. And it's just right now, it's not enough of us in the city council to, you know, really right the wrongs that are going on. When you look at the fact that we spent $814,000 on have a deficit, why would you do something like that? Why would we spend over $600 million?
See, I want you guys. Do you see Anthony Bill? He's saying the same. He's saying and doing the same thing I do. This is what was done. Why would you do that? I mean, it's literally. This is what I'm saying. If people were actually bounded by the actual bounds, see, there's two different kinds of monoliths, right? There's a reality monolith, and then there's a delusional monolith. There's only one reality monolith. And that means everything is all based in base reality factual information. If everybody was based in base reality factual information, there would be one correct monolith, and that would be everybody driven by the data feedback of reality to your brain. However, that's not the case. And what happens is inefficient monoliths occur that create delusion. If everybody was on the same page, all processes would be the same, and it would be a quality control thing of people are 100% consistent with reality. The problem occurs when people's consistency with reality varies. As you see people who are consistent to reality, they go about processes the same and they act the same. And the reason why is because reality is a machine and people are parts of that reality machine, which means that they're programmed for a specific purpose, a specific duty, and for specific functions, which means that there's not too far out of ranges of what we can do. There's only a certain way that you can go about fact finding in data. And this is what he's doing, fact finding in data. He's asking questions, scientific method. You can't get around that. So there's two reasons why you would see people being a monolith. One reason would be that everybody is 100% consistent with reality, which would make it only one monolith, or there would be multiple monoliths with varying degrees of delusion, which would be a slight change in standard deviation or variance from their consistency with reality. And that's what we see right now. If you guys would agree, give me a thumbs up. If you guys would disagree, give me a thumbs down.
I was on a wrought iron fence during the pandemic, knowing that we have a deficit. Why would you do something like that? Why would we spend over $600 million
James, what's good
on migrants when you know we have a deficit like this? Why didn't we have a hiring freeze or start furlough day?
Bringing it back to undocumented. What did he say about the migrant budget? When he lists the migrant budget, I want you guys to put the number in the chat, okay?
That have been made, and it's just right now, it's not enough of us in the city council to, you know, really right the wrongs that are going on. When you look at the fact that we spent $814,000 on a wrought iron fence during the pandemic, knowing that we have a deficit, why would you do something like that? Why would we spend $1 million on migrants when you know we have a deficit like this? We did
$600 million is what they've spent on migrants. $600 million. That takes up the majority of the budget, and it's been talked about. If the budget is $1 billion, oh no, actually I'm wrong about that. Never mind. But 600 million. Actually, no, I'm not wrong about that. Yeah, $600 million. You see it right up on the screen. $600 million. So only 400. So that means that 60% of this budget was spent on migrants. 60%. So if they hadn't spent any money on migrants at all, they would have still had $600 million to spare, which would have meant that the budget would have been $400 million, roughly. know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's crazy. Shout out to David Brown. That's crazy. Facts. If you guys agree, that's crazy. Give me a thumbs up. If y'all disagree, give me a thumbs down. Crazy. What's even crazier is that Brandon Johnson will probably never have to appropriately answer for this. He'll probably never have to appropriately answer for this. Now, why am I saying this? I'm saying this to say this. As you guys heard what Anthony Beal said, Brandon Johnson, for the most part, is solely responsible for this. People put him in office. This is what voting against your own interest looks like. People can't afford to be doing this and then turn around and come on TV and be all outraged at a city council meeting when you put these people in office. But then you got people sitting up there saying that I'm a coon because of the politicians that I talk about. I want you guys to pay attention. My content, people had to listen to me and my recommendations. You would have at least not had to worry about a $600 billion budget deficit in Chicago. Me advising people of the pitfalls of a $600 billion budget deficit based on migrants in Chicago, that makes me a coon. I want you guys to understand that. Do with it what you may.
Days back in March and April, if you knew we had a deficit like this coming. And so there was no preparation. So it's just bad decisions going forward.
Thank you for clarifying that in your position on those issues. Okay, so we're in.
So Anthony Beal said this is just bad decisions going forward. So this right here is a professional, articulate version of me saying you're just dumb. This is the same thing. It's the same thing, except for he's being professional about it because he has a position of authority in Chicago. You know what I'm saying? He's got to interact with multiple different people. He's just not sitting in front of a YouTube mic and can just scream at people. But I can, though, because I don't do this. So he's saying that people are making decisions that don't make sense. They're not consistent with the information that's available there, and they're not consistent with reality. And that higher competency decisions and better decisions, higher integrity decisions should be being made. But they're not. And they're not because people are just dumb. The same reason why people voted for these people, because they're just dumb. So you say this, right? You've made these statements, and then see, because Anthony Beal, I got this feeling, because you get to a point where you start doing things that make sense, and then like you sit around and look at other people not do things that make sense, and you kind of just turn into a robot. Like you kind of just lose your affect. You kind of just like lose faith in people. So what ends up happening is you just kind of talk like with this solemn talk of just the expected idiocy of other people, and you just kind of keep it pushing. And if you ask me, that's the kind of tone that Brandon Johnson has. He got that kind of energy. Like, these people are idiots. I've been trying to do things different for 5 years and they don't listen. This is all I can say. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. You need to go talk to these people. That's about the demeanor that I get from Anthony Beal here. And I get it. I get it. You know what I'm saying?
It's just right now, it's not enough of us in the city council to, really right the wrongs that are going on. When you look at the fact that we spent $814,000 on a wrought iron, we spent over $600 million on migrants when we have a deficit like this. Why didn't we have a hiring freeze or start furlough?
I'm not trying to. It's just hilarious when people be like, "Why did you do that?" Because I ask that question all the time, and it won't get answered. Like, that's the whole thing. Like, that's why he's asking the question. Like, why would you do that? It just won't get answered. Like, it just literally just won't get answered. It's just like, this is crazy, man.
Days back in March and April, if you knew we had a deficit like this coming. And so there was no preparation. So it's just bad decisions going forward.
Thank you for clarifying that in your position on those issues. Okay, so we're in this problem. We got to do something. What would you do to plug the hole?
Well, again, we should have had massive a hiring freeze outside of police and fire. And I'm glad that the administration saw the error of their ways and reverse course
on. As far as Anthony Beal with the police and fire, Anthony Beal is real big on safety. You guys recall I disagreed with him in his position on ShotSpotter. However, I respect his position because he's there in Chicago and he understands the city and he knows what's best far more than I would. My positions on those things come specifically from a standpoint of how I feel about police in general. He's dealing with it from the local area, and I respect that. You know what I'm saying? So if you listen to Anthony Beale, he's going to always be somebody that is pro public safety. So when people be like, oh, you know, he this, that, and the other because he said X, Y, Z. If you ask me, when people do that, that's lizard brain. That's lizard brain. And lizard brain is one of the reasons why people like Anthony Johnson got Brandon Johnson became the mayor. So, you know what I'm saying?
Well, we should have been looking at possible furlough days like we did years ago to help plug this gap. But none of those things were done. We just kept spending. And now we have a hole, and we want to blame CPS on the $223 million hole we have this year for not paying their pension payment. However, if we wouldn't have a deficit.
The same exact thing that I did. And the reason why he said the same exact thing that I said I did is because 600 million minus 1 billion is 400 million. There's no negotiation on that. So anybody who's being honest is going to have the same answer as him, me, anybody else right down the line. Put it in a calculator. A calculator is going to say the same thing as me and him said. This is what people can't handle, which I don't understand because this is actually easy. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, none of these like, it's not rocket science. Like, when I be telling, like, literally, it's not rocket science. Literally, it's 1 billion minus 600. And actually, you can make it, if that's too much for you, you can just make it 10 minus 6. Literally, that's all it is. I don't understand. Like, I don't understand the I don't understand the perceived complexities with this stuff. I truly don't. I'm perplexed by the perceived complexness of this stuff. None of this even had to happen. You know what I'm saying? How do you get here? Who answers for this? You know what I mean?
In March and April, we should have been looking at possible furlough days like we did years ago to help plug this gap. But none of those things were done. We just kept spending. And now we have a hole, and we're blaming $200 hole that we year for not paying their pension payment. However, if we had not spent $600 million on the migrants, we wouldn't have a deficit this year going forward. And so we have created this disaster.
Right? So now people are asking, well, this is undocumented. This channel is supposed to be about the migrant crisis. Yeah, the migrant crisis doesn't occur in a vacuum. The migrant crisis occurs while these cities have these other issues, and they're all interrelated. This is why you keep hearing Anthony Beale bring up the migrant crisis. If you guys would agree, give me a thumbs up. If you guys would disagree, then give me a thumbs down.
Disaster that we're in, and now we want to point fingers and blame everybody else for the bad decisions that this administration has been making.
Okay, I want to ask you about something.
So now look at this. So now he's talking about pointing fingers and blaming everybody else. Is Anthony Beale being a coon? Absolutely not. Anthony Beale is one of the few politicians that you will see me ever saying anything positive about. He's absolutely right. Which is one of the reasons why you rarely see a press conference with him. I've only seen them talk to him 2 or 3 other times. And Fox News never tries to bring him on. They get Ray Lopez before they get him.
We want to blame CPS on the $223 million hole that we have this year for not paying their pension payment. However, if we had not spent $600 million on the migrants, we wouldn't have a deficit this year going forward. And so we have created this disaster that we're in, and now we want to point fingers and blame everybody else. But
I'm running that again. This right here is actually this right here might actually be a little clip. I'm gonna do some clips from this live stream, but this right here might be its own separate clip, because I think that this needs to be played on repeat all over the place, all over United States in Democrat cities. If you guys would agree, give me a thumbs up. If you guys would disagree, give me a thumbs down.
furlough days, like we did years ago to help plug this gap. But none of those things were done. We just kept spending. And now we have a hole, and we want to blame CPS on the $223 million hole that we have this year for not paying their pension payment. However, if we had not spent $600 million on the migrants, we wouldn't have a deficit this year going forward. And so we have created this disaster that we're in, and now we want to point fingers and blame everybody else for the bad decisions that this administration has been making.
Okay, I want to ask you about something you just mentioned there. You called the fact not to include police and fire in the hiring freeze a reversal of a decision from the Johnson administration. They're saying it wasn't a reversal, that was the plan all along.
So again, I want you guys to see, Brandon Johnson is lying, and we got the proof. We did the article from Chicago Tribune and everything. It's on this. It's on here. It's on undocumented.
Did they get pushback and then they decided, oh, maybe we shouldn't include them in the hiring freeze?
Yeah, absolutely. All the documentation that we got, everything that went out, and it was a total hiring freeze across the entire city, including first responders. And so there was a lot of pushback. A lot of aldermen, the FOP was pushing back. The firefighters union was pushing back. Aldermen were pushing back, saying that, we're already 2,000 officers short. Now you're going to freeze, hiring. You're going to not pay overtime. And we still are dealing with carjackings and smash and grabs and murders and all kind of CTA issues. And now you want to cut back? That was just a bad decision. And I'm glad they reversed course, but it was definitely a reversal.
Interesting. Okay, so I want to switch gears here. Several Chicago aldermen are calling for the mayor to fire one of his top after a 2020 podcast interview just resurfaced. Let's listen in, and then I want your reaction.
If I die, especially at the hands of pigs, don't name after me. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to.
How many people have heard of this? This is kind of off topic for this channel. But there was this situation where this mayor candidate, I think this woman is running for mayor. They're calling these controversial comments because she called some cops pigs.
Like piece of legislation named after me, a road, none of that. But I would be honored if that got more folks to abolition.
So, Alderman, that was allegedly the voice of Kennedy Bartley, Mayor Johnson's managing deputy of external relations. She was just given a promotion of sorts. Your reaction?
Well, first of all, it wasn't allegedly. That was her. And those are her views. And those are the agenda that her and her organization have been pushing here in the city of Chicago. And, I'm sorry that she wasn't thoroughly vetted, and she should not be on the payroll. And, I actually joined the course or the choir to have her removed immediately. She should not be on the government payroll. She should not be paid by taxpayer dollars. And if these are the type of people that the mayor wants to surround himself with, then, that explains exactly why the city is in turmoil and chaos that you see right now.
Thoughts? Let me ask you guys this question. Is Anthony Beale a fake Democrat, MAGA agent? Black American? Because he's clearly Black American. I'm just asking. Somebody help me out. Now, he has some interesting critiques of Brandon Johnson's administration. As you got to ask the question, as critical as Anthony Beale, I mean, I've always said this. I think that if Anthony Beale and Brandon Johnson was in a room together, I think Anthony Beale probably like you know what I'm saying, he probably roughed Brandon Johnson up a little bit. How come they never brought him on Fox or anything like that?
But I would be honored if that got more folks to abolition.
So, Alderman, that was allegedly the voice of Kennedy Bartley, Mayor Johnson's managing deputy of external relations. She was just given a promotion of sorts. Your reaction?
Well, first of all, it wasn't allegedly. That was her. And those are her views, and those are the agenda.
Shout out to Lunch. What's good with it, bro? So nobody got any opinion? I gotta agree with Black Spider. If you guys agree with Black Spider, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. Black Spider said he's too black and too rational. If you ask me, Anthony Beale is the type of black man that they absolutely do not want to give any type of press coverage for. Anthony Beale is intelligent. He has a wonderful professional temperament, very articulate, not emotional, clear-cut, concise, to the point. Receipts on demand. This is not the type of person they want. So this is why they bypass somebody like him. This is one of the reasons why I have so much respect for him.
Her and her organization have been pushing here in the city of Chicago. And, I'm sorry that she wasn't thoroughly vetted and she should not be on the payroll. And, I actually joined the course or the choir to have her removed immediately. She should not be on the government payroll. She should not be paid by taxpayer dollars. And if these are the type of people that the mayor wants to surround himself with, then, that explains exactly why the city is in turmoil and chaos that you see right now. We are in the middle of a dysfunctional administration. When you fire 4 people in IGA.
I mean, look at this, man. This is a city councilman saying this. Brandon Johnson's administration is dysfunctional.
Got more folks to abolition.
So, Alderman, that was allegedly the voice of Kennedy Bartley, Mayor Johnson's managing deputy of external relations. She was just given a promotion of sorts. Your reaction?
Well, first of all, it wasn't allegedly. That was her. And those are her views. And those are the agenda that her and her organization have been pushing here in the city of Chicago, and thoroughly vetted. And she should not be on the payroll. And, I actually joined the course or the choir to have her removed immediately. She should not be on the government payroll. She should not be paid by taxpayer dollars. And if these are the type of people that the mayor wants to surround himself with, then, that explains exactly why the city is in IGA for no apparent reason. Those were 4 African-American women that were doing a great job building relationships, but then you hire someone who's radical to be over them with those kind of views. I think we are definitely in troubled water right now, and we need to make sure that she gets fired immediately and be removed from city government.
Alderman Beale, in his own words, thank you so much, sir, for joining us here on Good Day Chicago.
What do you guys think? Shout out to Alderman Anthony Beale. You know what I'm saying? One of the few politicians that I ever say anything nice about. You know what I'm saying? So Anthony Beale is not the only one that has critiqued Brandon Johnson's plan to, quote unquote, repair the budget that he's the one that's responsible for destroying and takes no accountability for. Economics professor questions effectiveness of Chicago budget changes. Kind of like everybody's questioning the effectiveness of the Harris economic plan. A Chicago economics professor has questions about the potential effectiveness of the city's new budget restrictions. City budget director Annette Guzman outlined the changes this week after Mayor Brandon Johnson projected a budget deficit of nearly $1 billion in 2025. Now, let me ask you guys this question. As far as quote unquote radical goes, when people say radical, right? If you ask me, I don't believe that there's any terminology that should ever not be translated into numbers. Me personally, if I ran the world, that's exactly how it would be. People would be communicating in binary or braille. And that would be the only language. But since I don't, it's not like that. And I have to adjust and deal with it. However, if you ask me, there can be a correlation made between the amount of money spent and the amount of money taxed. And that can be correlated with how, quote unquote, radical somebody is on the left. People who are extremely radical will increase taxes and there will be lots of budget, which means a lot of money being spent. People who are less radical will spend less money and make and charge less taxes. So the degree of radicalization is directly correlated with the amount of government spending and the amount of taxation. Can we say that as a loose estimate? If we can say that as a loose estimate, give me a thumbs up. If we can't say that as a loose estimate, give me a thumbs down. So when somebody says this person is radical, let's look at the history of all of the legislation they pushed and see how much it adds up to. And if it's at the high end of average, we can go ahead and say that they're radical. If it's at the low end of average, we can say that maybe they might be more towards moderate. But these things should never be without a numerical value, because the more you pin something to a numerical value, the less it can be dismissed as opinion. If you guys agree, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. So now here it says Guzman said a citywide hiring freeze would take effect immediately. Frances Lee is an economics professor at Loyola University of Chicago. She said economists have a saying when it comes to hiring. We can achieve full employment if we hire half of the population to dig a hole and the other half to fill it. If we are eliminating these kinds of government jobs, then yes, by all means, do the hiring freeze, Lee said. And I agree. These are jobs that they're just making up for no reason, just to stimulate the economy, not jobs that actually have a functional purpose, or as they say in economics, utility. Okay. The professor said that essential services are a different story. If police would be reduced or garbage would be left uncollected, it would further drive people out of the city, Lee said. Now, let me ask you guys this question. Do you all agree? If you all agree with that, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, then give me a. So now here it says Chicago government officials also enacted restrictions on travel and overtime expenditures outside of public safety operations. The city's forecast has projected a deficit of $223 million by the end of this year and more than a $982 million gap in 2025. Lee said her biggest concern with the deficit is how much taxes will increase. So again, would you guys say that it's safe to say that increased taxes, increased spending is directly correlated with the radicalization in the leftward direction? A higher property tax or new real estate transaction tax could drive people out of the city. Which what effect would that have if people ended up getting driven out of the city? What effects would that have if people end up getting driven out of the city? That's my question for you guys. We know that Chicago is losing people to the suburbs and the state of Illinois is losing people to other states. The number one issue on people's mind when they move out is tax, Lee said. Lee added that a higher tax is not just a one-time blow to the economy, okay? It would unleash a vicious cycle where people and businesses move out of the city. So the tax base shrinks and the budget hole gets bigger and taxes gets increased further. The vicious cycle can kill a city. That would be my biggest worry, Lee said. And that's, I mean, for the most part, that vicious cycle, literally, that's my entire region. That's literally what you see when you walk through the post-industrial era steel belt. That's why it's all now a post-apocalyptic, heroin-ridden wasteland. You know what I'm saying? That's the lifespan development of a city. So now I want you guys to know about this when it comes to the state government. JB Pritzker has already come out to try to get ahead of this and has already said, guess what? We don't really have nothing for y'all. We have limited funds available to help you all with this particular situation. So what we about to do now is we're gonna take a listen here. We're gonna take a look at a report that shows what JB Pritzker has to say about this.
Pritzker says Chicago officials have not approached him about the city's budget deficit. The city facing a forecasted $200 fall for the remainder of this year and nearly $1 billion next year. On Tuesday, Pritzker told reporters that the state could only do so much to help Chicago solve its financial issues. Mayor Brandon Johnson has suggested the state invest more in the city's public schools. Johnson's administration is in overtime limits.
We don't want to have to cut any services. I made that very clear. You know, I've been an organizer, I've been an elected official over the course of bad decisions. But as a city, we have to be prudent and fiscally responsible in this moment. Look, I've already saved the taxpayers.
No, that's the problem. You don't have to just be fiscally responsible in that moment. You're supposed to be fiscally responsible the entire time you're in charge of the money, so that you don't have to do last minute shuffling around like you're doing right now. Would you guys agree? If you guys agree, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. The right approach is to be proactive. The wrong approach is to be reactive. And Brandon Johnson is telling people we have to be reactive. Chi-Town, dollar bill. You know what I'm saying?
Already 200 million. But we have areas of need, not just in community safety, but education. Working with our calculated $3.6 billion for school districts around the state, $1.1 billion for the city of Chicago. We're going to continue to organize and make sure that our state partners continue to hear from us, that from education to transportation, reduction in violence in this city, and investments can.
What is he even saying?
Continue to go up.
Pritzker says Chicago.
I ran it back because I want to know what he's even saying. What is Brandon Johnson actually even saying right here? One thing that I can't stand, like I told you guys know this, I don't like wasting my time. And for two, I don't like when people just sit there babbling, talking around stuff, because I could be doing something else. What is he saying? He's not even addressing anything that's going on with this situation at all. At all. What did he address? What solutions did he give? He's not addressing anything. Shout out to Caldona. What's good with it? Word salad. Facts. Shout out to Black Spider. Facts. Shout out to everybody watching. We got 27 people watching. I appreciate you guys. And we got 28 likes. If everybody could take a moment, smash that like button and get us to 50 likes, I would greatly appreciate it.
Chicago officials have not approached him about the city's budget deficit. The city Pritzker says Chicago officials have not approached him about the city's budget deficit. The city facing a forecasted $223 for the remainder of this year and nearly $1 billion next year. On Tuesday, Pritzker told reporters that the state could only do so much to help Chicago solve its financial issues. Mayor Brandon Johnson has suggested that the state invest more in the administration has overtime limits.
To cut any services. I made that very clear. You know, I've been an organizer, I've been an elected official. It has been done over the course of a city. We have to be prudent and fiscally responsible in this moment. Look, I've already saved the taxpayers already $200 million. Areas of working with our state partners. The state of Illinois has calculated $3.6 billion school districts on this state, $1.1 billion for the city of Chicago. We're going to continue to organize and make sure that our state partners continue to hear from us, that from education to transportation to ensuring that we continue to see the reduction in violence in this city. And
now during the
I cut him off.
mayoral campaign taxes, however, in recent dismissed the idea outright. Now, the mayor must submit a proposed budget by mid-October for city council to approve by come January.
All right. So there's that. All right. So there's that. All right. So I think this, for the most part, is just a transcript here, right? This is a transcript of this particular article here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this article link into the chat so you guys can check this out. Shout out to Black Free Thinker. What's good with it, bro? I'm going to put this article here in the chat for y'all. All right. And people can reference the information and stop saying that what I'm talking about is missing disinformation. You know what I'm saying? Because if what I'm talking about is mis or disinformation, then I guess, you know what I'm saying, these local news channels are missing disinformation. All right. And again, and there's another article here. You know, it's called Chicago is taking drastic measures to reduce its deficit. The city is expected to face a $1 billion shortfall. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this link here into the Discord. All right. I'm gonna put this link into the Discord, and you guys can easily find this stuff if you're interested in it. But it's just here for reference information, also. Okay. So give me 1 second. Let me see. Hold on. See. Yeah. Okay. All right. So the links are there. All right. So you guys will be able to look at this if you guys want to. All right. And we got more stuff to talk about. We got more content to talk about. So I got some more videos to put up. I'll be going live again later. Make sure you subscribe to my backup channels. Make sure you subscribe to all the other channels. We still got to get to our 500 subs on here. We getting close. Hit that like button and share so that we get them 500 subs. Drop comments after the videos. All right. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Hopefully it was informative. Hopefully you understand the connection. You know what? Actually, hold on real quick. You know what? I'm glad that I checked this. Believe it or not, we got one more little video that we got to take a look at. One more little video. My bad. Let me see. Let me just look at something real quick. Hold on. I had these out of order and I didn't realize it. Give me 1 second. All right, hold on. See, I send everybody out of here. You know what I'm saying? Everybody probably gone. You know what I'm saying? All right, so let's hold that thought. Hold that outro, right? Hold that outro because the outro coming, but just hold the outro real quick. We're going to take a look at these two clips right here. All right.
So we know Chicago faces a budget shortfall that could reach close to $1 billion in the next year. A hiring freeze has been implemented. But today, one alderman says the city needs to go even further with changes for some workers already on the payroll. NBC5's Christian Farr has more on this looming financial crisis.
They have not approached us about any of it. During an event in Chicago's Austin neighborhood, Governor Pritzker was asked about the city's nearly $1 billion deficit that has resulted in a recent hiring freeze, amongst other cost-cutting measures.
Now, what I find interesting about this, and I'm going to ask you guys if you noticed this, do you guys notice that J.B. Pritzker always throws Brandon Johnson under the bus? JB, anytime there's an opportunity to throw Brandon Johnson under to throw Brandon Johnson under the bus, J.B. Pritzker always throws Brandon Johnson under the bus. Always. And Brandon Johnson still just is like he doesn't get it, or I don't know what the problem is.
So we know Chicago faces a budget shortfall that could reach close to $1 billion in the next year. Hiring implemented. One alderman says the city should go even further just for some workers already on the payroll. NBC5's Christian Farr has more finance.
They have approached us about it. In Chicago's Austin neighborhood, Governor Pritzker was asked about the city's nearly $1 billion deficit that has resulted in a recent hiring freeze, amongst other cost-cutting measures.
We've been in situations like this. It's very, very difficult and challenging, but it's something you can tough your way through. And then you got to plan for years to come.
The governor says the mayor has not reached out yet concerning any help to balance the city's budget at the state level. Besides the hiring freeze announced yesterday by the city's budget director, Annette Guzman also said there will be limitations on non-essential travel and overtime.
Our revenues had not kept pace, but our spending has exploded.
When Chicago's budget issues emerged late last month, some city council members said everything needed to be on the table to close the gap, including raising property taxes. While there are only overtime restrictions outside of public safety operations, the hiring freeze covers all citywide departments, including police and fire, which raises concern.
Now, you guys heard what Anthony Beale said. What did Anthony Beale say?
We've never seen in budget crises years where police and fire have been impacted by the amount of vacancies not being filled, because you always need policemen.
Since everything is on the table, Alderman Ray Lopez says they have to go beyond the hiring freeze and look at everyone who is currently on staff. So Alderman Lopez posted that the city should pay cut on a certain group of city employees who only work 4 days a week.
One solution that we can have is that if our employees want to stay home and only work 4 days a week.
Now, who 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 is this certain group of employees that only work 4 days a week? Let me know what
He
y'all
should
think.
impose a pay cut on a certain group of city employees who only work 4 days a week.
One solution we can have is that if our employees want to stay home and only work 4 days a week, let them work 4 days a week, cut their salary by 20% and save on that 5th day that they're not here.
At City Hall, Christian Paul, NBC 5 News.
All right, so there's that. All right, so we got one more. All right. I want to know who that I want to know who that group of people is that only works 4 days a week. You know what I'm saying? Oh man. I want to know where they're hiring where their contact us part of their website is.
Is over. The DNC is long gone and is back to reality for Chicago City Council members, and part of that reality is the aforementioned $1 billion budget gap and whether or not to raise taxes to plug it. Part of the spending bomb has been on the migrant crisis this year, and alders were briefed on the situation at City Hall today.
Now, when it comes to talking about this, out of everybody that talked about this, the only people that talked about this in terms of the migrant crisis is this particular channel right here and Anthony Beale. Them the only two. Now, mind you, 80-20 principle, right? Puerto principle. The migrant crisis makes up 60% of the total dollars of the budget gap. 60%. Yet it didn't get 60% of the conversation.
Labor Day is over. The DNC is long gone and is back to reality for Chicago City Council members, and part of that reality is the aforementioned $1 billion budget gap and whether or not to raise taxes to plug it. Part of the spending bomb has been on the migrant crisis this year, and alders were briefed on the situation at City Hall today. They joined me afterwards to debate what to do, and the conversation turned tense.
The bottom line is we've got to manage our money better in the city, and we haven't done it. And if you look at what happened, the state and the feds gave us funding for the migrant crisis, and it was mismanaged by the hundreds of millions. And that is part of the problem. So we can't keep going back to that same well.
It was mismanaged by hundreds of millions. You guys hear this, right? This is going to be another clip. This is going to be another clip. I want to make sure that you guys are very aware of this so that when we start asking these questions or bringing this stuff up, you see people are always trying to tag us and say that we're racist. People are always trying to say that this is MAGA disinformation, misinformation when you got Democrats here saying this stuff.
Labor Day is over. The DNC is long gone and is back to reality for Chicago City Council members, and part of that reality is the aforementioned $1 billion budget gap and whether or not to raise taxes to plug it. Part of the spending bomb has been on the migrant crisis this year, and alders were briefed on the situation at City Hall today. They joined me afterwards to debate what to do, and the conversation turned tense.
The bottom line is we've got to manage our money better in the city, and we haven't done it. And if you look at what happened, the state and the feds gave us funding for the migrant crisis, and it was mismanaged by the hundreds of millions. And that is part of the problem. So we can't keep going back to that same well, because again, the states and the feds are not going to keep giving us money when they see mismanagement of the funds. That's the bottom line.
I just want to kindly disagree. I don't think you get stabbed.
There is no disagreement there. The governor pulled the plug on funding on places like Brighton Park because you were going to put a toxic or a bunch of migrants on a toxic waste dump. That is mismanagement of money. And that was a loss of tens of millions of dollars.
I think we need to watch the pronoun you, because this wasn't a Will Hall decision.
And that's 6th Ward Alderman Will Hall clashing there. He says the state and the Fed should give the city more money. Now, the mayor's office has not proposed a way out, but alder people have different views. Some want the state and federal government to pony up more, as I said, and others are floating revenue-generating ideas like a tax on electric vehicles. And others still say the simply needs a friendlier business climate. The way out is through growth and technology.
In the city of Chicago, we don't manufacture. City government does not manufacture and sell widgets. We provide a service. And so we need to be taking a look at technology at the forefront in order to deliver that service. There's no reason why we can't use AI in order to help people navigate government, help developers get their projects approved quicker. The quicker developers get their projects done and shovels in the ground, the quicker we can realize that property tax revenue.
But the question, will property taxes have to go up? Your property taxes, that is. See what they say when you watch the entire segment this evening at 9:30 on our weekly Paris on Politics show, debuting tonight on its new Thursday night, 9:30. We'll also get into the debate over Grant Park as the city's front yard once again was fully or partially closed for most of the summer due to private events like NASCAR and Lollapalooza. A lot to chew on.
So there's that, man. So if I'm able to come across those things that they're talking about there, as far as those discussions on that local policy as it pertains to Chicago, I'll find it and we'll check it out at some point. If not, there's other stuff that we can talk about. We got stuff popping down in I was about to say Uniontown, down in Springfield. Then I was about to say New Cumberland. I'm about to say all these boondocky places. You know what I'm saying? Because they all boondocky. You know what I'm saying? So Now, shout out to everybody. I appreciate each and every one of you all being here. If you're not subscribed to my channel over on Rumble, please take a moment. It's extremely important to go and subscribe to the channel over on Rumble. Okay? Give me 1 second. I'm going to put a link in for everybody to hit to go over to Rumble. All right. Download the Rumble app. Use this link. Use this link. Join Rumble. All right. Subscribe to my channel over on Rumble. If you got Twitch, subscribe over on Twitch. If you're not part of the Discord, take a moment, join the Discord. Why am I asking you guys to do this? For one, in case something happens with my channel, and for two, the only way to guarantee that you will get notifications is through Discord and through Patreon. Now, you don't have to have a Patreon account, right? You don't it would be nice if everybody got a Patreon account, but you don't have to have a Patreon account to get notifications on Patreon. So one thing that I would ask everybody to do is everybody please take a moment, and you don't, again, if you would like to become a paid Patreon, that's great. I would appreciate it. If not, I'm only asking you guys this for notification purposes. I saw from my analytics that about 30% of my notifications go out on Patreon. So that means that Patreon effectively gets people to the videos. So if you want a more effective notification, Patreon is one. And you don't have to pay for a notification. You could just sign up, subscribe to my Patreon channel, and that be that. Okay. Now, I'm not turning down no ducats, but I would like you guys to get the notification. So here's the link to the Patreon. All right. So with that being said, there's a lot of conversations going on YouTube. But what we talk about over here is